This is Daria again with the Higher Authority. Thank you so much for joining us. To my right, I have Doug Wald, Aaron Frenchman. Very exciting. We have our guest today, Eliud Custodio, and he's from TurnOneStudio. We were there. Now he's here. Now we figured we'd share a little bit of the wealth with you this time. So thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, we are too. We are too. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about what you do. Tell us everything about TurnOneStudio and how you got into it.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, TurnOneStudio is a full-service marketing agency. We typically work with small businesses. We're located in Hauppauge, right in the industrial park on Motor Parkway. Marketing is a broad thing, so I'll rattle off a few of the services that we offer, and they include website development, graphic design, video production, photography, podcast production, blog authoring, social media management, email marketing, and the like.
That's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things.
And if a client comes to you, they can choose just one. They don't have to do all.
Absolutely. It's rare to do all of them for one client because, frankly, not every client needs everything.
Right.
So.
Right. Makes sense. All right, Doug, I'm gonna.
Yeah, and how did you get into it, Eliud? How did you start? What was your affinity for marketing? How did you love it? And how was it something that you've grown into and established a great career?
Yeah, so I went to school for graphic design, which at the time was computer graphic design. They were making that distinction, right? I had tinkered with. I was kind of a computer dork during high school. I was also into art. So when it came to trying to figure out what to do career-wise, when college came, computer graphic design just seemed to naturally meld those two tech and art passions. But it was a full-blown art curriculum. I had fine art, photography, and sculpture, and all that kind of stuff, which was great. Art history. For some reason, the professor that I had for the layout program that was Quark Express at the time began to bring me under her wing and introduce me to HTML. And at the same time, my photographer professor, different individual, he used to be the former art director at Hamptons Magazine, and they had reached out to him coincidentally at the same time I was in his class, and they had asked him, do you have any kids there that are, hireable, because we're looking to hire a graphic designer. So he had sent me and another guy for the job. I got the job, and then that kind of kicked off, a nearly 30-year career in magazine publishing. So I come from an entrepreneurial family, and in college I had started. I officially started a business, even though I wasn't really sure what it was going to be. I thought it was going to be computer repair, and then it was going to be computer repair plus graphic design because I was doing that anyway.
Right.
Thanks to the lessons in HTML, it became graphic design and web development, and then it just kind of took off from there.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's a great foundation.
Yeah.
Understanding where you're going, and look where it goes from digital marketing there to all the other disciplines that you handle, right? So,
exactly.
So that's great. So did you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, it's great because it just shows how timing factors in so much. You were in school and kind of launching your career, and it's like, oh, I got introduced to this thing called HTML.
Yeah.
I mean, you were working on Quark, so we're dating you by
without a doubt, and that's okay because I relish the speaking of timing, I relish that the timing of everything, right? So I graduated high school in '95, so this is the late '90s that I'm doing this stuff, and then I got my first magazine opportunity with Hamptons, right, late '90s, and then shortly after that, I was with another magazine company. And what I like about all of that is that was kind of the dawn of the internet as we know it, at least the commercial use of it, right? It was around for a while, but not really widely adopted. We were still, I remember still collecting the AOL discs in the mail, right? And,
I used to work on
reformatting
front page 98
front page 98.
Yeah.
So it's cool to kind of see the evolution of this stuff because I have that insight now to tap into with what we're doing today.
Right.
So part of it is, as much as I don't hand code as often anymore, I think the last project was, within the past year, but even that was kind of a rare thing, and only because it was necessary.
Right.
But you don't lose those skills, which I was happy to see.
Yeah.
But it also helps you when you understand from a coding level how the stuff works under the hood.
Right.
Troubleshooting, you think differently. And the train of logic that you follow to troubleshoot is just different. So if I didn't go through that path, I wouldn't have that. And the other benefit is along that time frame, I've seen things come and go. Right, Macromedia Flash was huge. I was a
sure
big
was,
Flash developer.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs killed that.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
There's just been a variety of things. You know, the dot-com bubble burst, and investing in companies that weren't really profitable, and
Right.
all that kind of stuff. So you take these little lessons over time,
Yeah.
and the way I apply it now, if a new widget comes out, a new technology, a new concept,
Right.
I'm quick to pay attention, right? But I take a beat to decide if it really makes sense to implement, because
Sure.
I've gone down this road before. I've seen this movie. So sometimes
Right.
because the new shiny thing is exciting, I don't know, it may not be worth it right now. And I'm speaking super general right now,
Of
but you
course.
get the idea.
And
And
adoptable, like by
Yeah.
clients, and you
Right.
see it.
Right.
all
I mean, at the
time.
end of the day, I'm
So-
in business. So it also has to have a business case
Correct,
for
yeah.
doing it, not
Exactly.
just because it's fun.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So let's go 180. Let's put you in the professor
Uh-huh.
seat right now, and you have someone fresh out of school,
Mm.
that said, okay, let's leave Cork over here and let's teach you this. Where are you directing the next generation of people in this world? What technology are you directing them to?
That's an excellent question.
I'm allowed one per.
Let's cross that one off the list.
Alrighty,
Yeah.
right. Aaron is done.
Before I focus on the technology, I'd focus on the concepts.
Okay.
There are things that I learned taking art history classes, taking this particular art class and applying it to this particular discipline, right? Like, for example, when taking photography and learning the concept of the rule of thirds, right? And
Okay.
understanding how to frame something. You apply that with what you learn in graphic design, especially if you're doing page layout with the reverse S concept, for example, and you understand that art is subjective, art's a lot of things, but there is a structure that you can follow. There's the golden rule and all these other things that you learn that transcends technology, right? So if technology is the tool, I'll know how to use that tool regardless of the tool if I understand the concepts behind it. So I think, to answer your question, I would want to make sure that the talent coming out of school now really truly understands that. It's cool that we have tools. We can get into the whole AI concept.
Right.
We have tools like AI that, in essence, you push a button and a thing is made. But
Yeah.
it doesn't walk you through the process of the decision making behind that thing.
Right.
Right. So it kind of looks pretty, and maybe it's artistically accurate, if you want to call it that, based on standards,
Yep.
but you don't really know unless you've gone through that process. So I think it's important to, while we have these tools and you should use them, they're wonderful, until you understand the concept, maybe just put that to the side and then
Right.
grab the pen and paper,
Yeah.
go old school, just to exercise your mind in thinking of, well, this is the right structure, and then you find the tool to fulfill the problem.
I think constantly working from the bottom up
Yep.
gives you so much more credibility, because the way you said before, you're thinking on multiple levels. You're not just thinking about where you're at today, you're thinking about how you arrived at that situation.
Mhm.
And so if there is an issue, you're able to look at it at a top level, but you're able to dig into it and say, what exactly happened and what went wrong. On your client base,
Mhm.
what are the biggest problems they're coming to you with? And when you're going, I'm trying to get a good question in so that way I can beat Aaron. So when you bring on someone and they say to you, hey, listen, I'm having a problem with reaching this whatever demographic or however it is that how they're coming to you? Is that how is the client like approaching you, and what are they saying to you? What's the biggest issues that you're seeing that clients are having that you're able to help solve?
Usually the ask isn't, for lack of a better word, in the world of marketing, it's not a sophisticated ask. In other words, they're not necessarily marketers, so they don't
Right.
ask specifically, well, how do I increase lead gen by putting a really cool lead magnet together? stupid phrases like that we use, right?
How do we get the phone to ring more?
How do we get the phone to ring more? How do I get more leads, right? And that's often what's presented. And then
Yeah.
it's our job to kind of sit there and say, all right, what's really the question behind the question?
Right.
Sometimes the answer is marketing, sometimes the answer is not marketing. But sometimes they come in thinking, well, we need to rebuild our website because we need to drive more leads. Okay, that's cool. Let's start that conversation. In the back of my mind, I'm still questioning, do we really need to rebuild the website? Maybe, right? I mean, that's a cool
Right, is
opportunity
that
for me, but
actually the
I don't want to
issue?
do it if you don't need it.
Right.
Chances are we need to do other stuff.
Right.
It's funny, I was recording a
I know.
podcast yesterday and I had
I'm
the
just
same thing on
trying
my
to
Apple
stop
Watch.
things from ringing. I don't know what's going to ring next. Yeah.
So kind of dissecting that, they may in fact need a website redesign, but if we don't find what the true problem is with their current website, we may replicate it, right? The problem, while I'm confident we could design a more beautiful website, it'll be more functional. The UI would make more sense. It's going to be more mobile responsive. I could guarantee that when we do this, it'll be better in those respects. But if you're not getting lead activity because your messaging is off, what could that mean? Well, maybe you're writing for the audience that you think you have, but that's not really the audience you have. Or you actually understand who the right audience is, but your wording's just wacky, right? You're not structuring the presentation of that message in a efficient marketing way, meaning that if this landing page is supposed to accomplish this call to action, but you buried it 3 screens down, right? Maybe there's some functional stuff there that we could repair what you have, save you some money, save you some time, or at least if we're going to rebuild it, take those things into consideration, manage your expectations. So when you see our new product and you see the call to actions above the fold, as one example, you understand why. So a lot of it is kind of interviewing them and trying to help them figure out what they're trying to tell us, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Tearing down
the
the-
process.
Tearing down the building and rebuilding it on the same crappy foundation.
Right. I mean,
Right, it's going to fall on
It's
it.
gonna
Yeah.
keep having the same.
right. And analogies like that I'll often use because people understand that. Well,
Yeah.
that's true. If the foundation's garbage, then I really shouldn't X, Y, Z. How long does that take?
Yeah.
It usually doesn't take very long. A lot of it is on them. Their willingness to be receptive to that sort of feedback,
What do you do when you have, and I'm going to bet that this has happened. I'm not sure, but I'm going to bet it. When you have someone coming to you and saying, we need help, and it's it's the generation 2, and the older person is still, I don't know if we need this. How do you get past that?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to guess that happens.
That happens a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
And unfortunately, more often than not, logic won't prevail.
Oh.
It'll either be emotion or politics,
Oh.
right? I know this is the right thing. I can't get him to see it. She doesn't listen to me, right? The younger saying that to the legacy generation. And then the legacy generation is like, well, okay, I understand that. And I also will admit I may not understand that. But we made it this far.
Right, I built this.
Right.
Yeah.
So the idea of what got you here is not going to get you there often falls on deaf ears when they're victims of their own success, I guess you would say, right?
Yeah.
And they also, I see both sides of it. You really have to have a compelling argument to turn a ship that's been going in the right direction and successful for a while.
Right.
Sure.
And part of it is the risk. We're doing okay. We're doing more than okay. I get that we need to plant seeds for the future. I can't see your vision, so I'm reluctant to make that change. And that's usually the frustration between the legacy generation and the next one on the bench. As far as getting past that, the best thing I could do is give them the knowledge, the insight on why. Well, first off, I have to confirm that their vision is actually accurate, right? I may say, dude, not yet.
Yeah.
Stay the
Yeah.
course.
Okay.
But if their vision is actually accurate, let me arm them with the nuggets of information that they need to relate, in essence, to sell them on this move and why.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this may just be a small factor, but I think it's a significant concern. there are a lot of things in marketing that you can track. There's a lot of things that you can't track,
Right.
and there's a lot of things that you cannot predict. It's sometimes
Yeah.
your educated best guess,
Yep.
a gut feeling. It's very difficult to make a decision based on that. So I get that, right?
Yeah.
The legacy leadership team doesn't just want to make a bet because you saw this on TikTok and it sounds cool,
Yeah.
right? So we have to try to find the best business case for doing this, and a lot of it is also based on even if the prescription makes the most sense, the business that they're in also has to support it. For example, if you're selling something that is generally low dollar,
Right.
terrible example. Let's say you're selling $5 t-shirts versus a company that sells services at $5,000 a piece, right?
Yeah.
You're going to sell more t-shirts, right? There's higher quantity here, and that's how you're making your money, and that's cool. That's a business. And on this side, it's probably a longer sales cycle. You're going to sell fewer people, but it's a higher ticket, and that's a cool business, right? Two different things. Neither is right nor wrong. But if you're going to introduce something that's going to be a $10,000 investment, right? The leadership team is going to say, well, all right, I can see that return if I sell 2 of these things.
Right.
Right.
I could see that happen. I could see this return if I sell
A lot of t-shirts.
stupid math, 100 t-shirts or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever the math is. I forgot my numbers already, but you got the point.
Right.
So it's not that it doesn't make sense for the guy that's selling the cheaper widget,
Yeah.
but the understanding of what it's going to take to break even and then
Right.
some,
Yeah.
it's a tougher sell.
Absolutely.
We deal with that in recruiting because we deal
course.
with, you call a client and the, as you put it, the people on the bench are like, this makes sense. We're not hitting it. We're
Right.
not able to do what needs to be done. We're, as you say, the legacy generation is saying, we've been doing it this way for years. We don't need someone else. We're not paying that money.
Right.
It's not worth the expense. So we deal with that. That's one of the things that I would say, constantly have to overcome.
No. I mean, I had that conversation a couple of weeks ago with father and son owners of a potential client.
Mhm.
And these words actually came out of the father's mouth. Just put an ad up on Monster. Monster, it's still around. It used to be the standard for
Sure.
job
Right.
boards, but it's like saying, I don't need streaming services, just go to Blockbuster.
Yeah.
And I happened to be on a Zoom, and the
Oh,
son's
no.
face just went,
Yeah, but what did your face do? I'd be more concerned with that.
I kept it professional.
Okay. Great.
But yeah, I mean, I think we all run into that. And when recruiting, you mentioned, we need this and we should just do a whole program. And if we give you everything, do we really need to pay a recruiter 25%, 20% for this $16 an hour?
Right.
And there's that, well, if we want it done right and quick,
And fast.
yes. But if we want solely ROI based, no, it doesn't make any sense. So we fight that fight.
That sounds like a marketing challenge.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It absolutely
is.
is. It really is. It's definitely the same.
And that's where data and investment makes sense, right?
Mhm.
Data, you provide the data. You spoke to Insight. What's the ROI? What's the value to the company? What's the growth pattern look like? What's the forecast look like? And saying, okay, all right, yeah, you need a new website. All right, how are you going to care and feed it? What's the big picture? Yeah, you need that foundation, for your program, right? So where is that going to go? And you got to care and feed for it. You got to feed the beast, right? And that's something we deal with, with marketing here, right? So we constantly put out articles, podcasts, the things that we do to stay competitive and elevate our brand and our presence, right? So same probably conversation for you is that, okay, let's look under the hood. Where are your sales numbers? Where are your brand? Where's your brand equity? And so are you enabled to be able to get that level of insight and lay it out and say, guys, this is where you are. This is where you want to be. This is what you need to invest in and care and feed for. So is that something that you also kind of, are challenged with or try and step your clients through?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. I think if I were to distill that challenge, it's a misperception or misunderstanding of value, right? In other words, if they understood the value, this would be a moot point. You wouldn't have to convince them that Monster's a silly choice.
Right.
The other part is them taking stock in their current resources. before I hire this, I have this person telling me as a business owner, we should hire someone to do this. If I'm an astute business owner, before I say yes, I'm probably going to question, is my team maxed out where these tasks that they're saying we need to have covered, I can't cover internally. Right. If I have that mature outlook and then could determine, you know what, I do agree, we're stretched, I do need another body.
Yeah.
I could then move forward, right? And then work with someone like you because I understand the value in doing that. It's kind of the same with all the marketing stuff. Sorry, what was your question?
No, the
again?
question was around data, leveraging the data that
Yeah.
you can get from a client and saying, okay, here are our sales numbers. Here's where we are. We want to get from X to Y. Can they feed you some of their sales numbers and say, okay, where are your level of investments? What kind of headcount can you support your marketing efforts?
Yeah.
Agency side, internally, whatever, and then be able to take it and present that use case, like you said, present that business case saying, okay, guys, are you legit? And we talked about marketing maturity in our last podcast, right?
Yeah.
Are you legit? So are you able to have that foundation of data and be able to say, okay, guys, this is what I see. This is where you want to be. This is X, Y, and Z of investments that you have to put in for dollars, but also for people, right? To
Yeah.
get you. So is that something that they will entrust you with and say, okay, yeah, this is what we want to do. And you go in and look at the formula and say, okay, guys, this is, and where's the adoption, right?
Yeah.
Where do they buy in?
The short answer is yes. The
Good.
long answer is not as often as it should.
Right. Yeah, fair enough.
That doesn't
Yeah, fair enough.
occur enough as it should.
Yeah,
And I think that has to do with the comfort level of the business owner, right? And usually the ones with the more mature business, whether it's time or scale or whatever, they seem to get it. They're not as tight with that information. And the information is important because, like, I don't necessarily need to know dollar numbers unless you're holding my firm accountable for determining our success.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Sure.
If you need to go from here to here, well, I need to know where we're starting
Right.
from, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's rarely the case.
Right.
But the truth is, the astute business owner is going to want to share that information so that I can not only determine what I could do for them, but determine if anything would work. And what I mean by that is, if you're telling me that you guys need to close more, you need more business. Let's use a generic request like that. That's usually what it is. I need more revenue. I need more business. Okay. Why? And I don't mean why, because obviously more is better if you're talking revenue, but like why? Like where's the what's not working that we need
What's
to
the
try to
shortfalls?
fix?
Yeah.
If the answer is, well, my team does not know how to follow through on their leads, or they don't know how to close, well, that's a sales problem.
That's a CRM
Right.
issue.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It may be a CRM
Yeah.
issue, but it's a sales
It's a sales
problem.
problem.
It's
Yeah.
not a marketing
It's a process.
problem.
Yeah.
So, marketing could still drive more leads. That's what marketing is going to help do. But the
If you're not
sales
catching
team
them,
needs
yeah.
to still sell. So
you can't close.
I
It
don't-
doesn't matter.
right. So I would be reluctant to jump into that opportunity because you need to fix this first. What's going to happen is we're going to do our thing. We're going to do it well, and you're not going to see it. You're going to feel like we failed. My reputation is more important to me than any dollar amount.
That's
So
exactly
I don't
right.
want anyone to say, we hired TurnOneStudio and I didn't get X, Y, Z.
Right.
No, we're going to give that to you. But if the problem's what comes afterwards, we need to talk about that first. And if that means you need to get your house in order, then let's revisit this in 6 to 12 months or whatever, right? We don't need to jump in right now because I don't want to fail
That's fair. Yeah.
by their
Standards or whatever.
standards,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So yeah, those conversations are super important. And then assuming it is a marketing issue and they got that right, and we could talk about, well, what does it take to fix that? And we now have to break down what that looks like. Is it that you're selling once and you're not selling again to the same people? How do we expand that?
Right.
Account-based marketing, where you're going back to your current people. And look, from a funnel or journey perspective, they're farther down. They know you. They've experienced stuff with you. There's a higher likelihood you can get them to buy a second time if you gave them a good experience the first time.
Exactly.
Right.
Sure.
So why are we not tapping into that opportunity? That's
Right.
one angle of marketing we can explore. More often than not, the default thought is, well, I need to get new bodies. Cool. It's harder to get new customers than it is
To
to
retain.
retain and upsell your current customers.
Right.
So
Right.
you
Sure.
need to do both, right?
Yeah.
And there's that mature outlook here, because I need the immediate. The immediate is probably going to come more from the existing clients, and you need the longer term, or you need to constantly feed in new opportunities so that we can continue to move forward.
Right. And those are two very different marketing tactics
For
also.
sure. For sure.
And I think, you can tell me, do people want a one size fits all and not understand that you have to market to former and existing business differently than you do to people who don't know you?
Sometimes. Sometimes. It's unfortunate with the cool stuff that we have out at our fingertips. It creates a perception of, well, I could just push a button and the thing happens.
Right.
Yeah.
So they forget that there's a process when you go to do something the right way. And again, that's not to knock new technologies, but the perception of the new technology is not necessarily the reality of the new technology. We all know we could type a prompt into AI and get something back, but seldom is it 100% exactly what we need and how we need it, right? So unfortunately, there's still that feeling. It's, the stuff is in the news all the time. It makes us feel like we're in a world where everything that was done the old way is not happening anymore. All you have to do is push a button. So you lose the appreciation for what it takes to do the thing.
Right.
The reality is we still need to do the thing. And like we talked about in the last podcast, marketing is about relationships, and you can't shortcut that. There are things you could do to amplify your efforts, which in itself may equate to shortcutting it, or at least reducing the time from stranger to customer. But it's still a process. Like, you're still trying to sell to human beings, and human beings need time to absorb and marinate and connect.
Well, I think that's where the networking comes into play as well.
And networking is a huge factor.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I'm in a handful of networking groups, as you guys know.
You really are.
And yeah, I'm busy.
Might be two handfuls.
It's a lot, but for a good reason, right? And I'll explain kind of my strategy behind the different groups and how they overlap and don't at the same time. But I remember, this has happened multiple times, but I remember in one of my groups we had a guest come in, and you introduce yourself, and naturally what comes out is, well, what do you do? Well, I do marketing and stuff. And I'll sometimes get some weird responses to that. Weird in that it's almost rude, but it's not intended to be rude. I don't get offended by it.
They don't know what they don't know, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But, I do marketing, and then their response is, they'll say something like, in my business, I get all my business through word of mouth. I've never done any advertising.
Right.
And I'm like,
Good for you.
cool, right? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
You do know that marketing is more than just advertising,
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
right.
I didn't say
And
advertising.
I just get it from referrals. Okay, well, that's cool.
Right.
Or I get it by networking. Like, all right, that's cool. Referrals, networking, word of mouth.
All
I
forms of
say to
marketing.
them, you understand that's all marketing,
All forms
right?
of marketing,
And then you
exactly.
kind of see them just pause, and and I'm not saying it to be
No, of course.
antagonistic,
No.
but it's kind of highlighting a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Marketing is super general, like I said at the beginning, and it can take all these different forms.
Right.
To think that you're networking in lieu of marketing is missing the point. You're marketing yourself. It's you as a person. It's the brand that you represent. When you walk into that room, and this is one of the analogies I gave to one of those individuals that I was explaining this to. If I come to this meeting every week and I'm an expert in what I do, if I come into this meeting and I'm wearing torn shorts, a tank top, and flip-flops while everyone else is in suits, that has no effect on the knowledge that I have. I am still an expert in my space. I could sit on a microphone, dress like that, and tell you everything that you need to know.
Right.
Are you going to take me as seriously,
Right.
or even give me the chance to talk on the microphone
Right.
if I'm dressed that way versus
Yeah.
wearing a suit?
Absolutely.
that's marketing, right?
It's
Sure.
brand.
You're
Brand
taking in
identity,
those
yeah.
considerations. So, but you know what? Whenever I would share that with someone, they didn't walk in tank tops and flip-flops. They came in looking sharp.
Right.
Why? Because you get it. You just don't realize that you get it, right? So the analogy works if you apply it to a website. I don't know if a website's that important to me. I did one. My nephew did it 10 years ago. It's fine.
Right.
Really. Again, the website is you, and the website right now is wearing tank tops and a flip-flop.
Right.
And flip-flops. You're telling me that you're going to have the same effect? You only make a first impression once, and all those cliches that are cliches because they're
It's a good
legit,
analogy,
right?
though.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't dismiss this stuff because you don't think it's important. You don't think it's important because you don't realize it's important. But
Right.
we all, right or wrong, we judge people and brands and things first on appearance.
It's human nature.
Human
you can't
nature,
help that.
right? So if we do that, we often will not give a chance to someone that could be helpful to us because they didn't pass that first test. Why in business would you put these roadblocks in front of you? There are plenty of roadblocks in business. Get the darn website in ship shape and do everything right. The same thing applies to social media. Same thing applies to anything that's public facing.
Right.
So
That makes
You
total
also
sense.
speak to user attention. You come to a website. That's like, and we have to have people figure out what they've got to do.
Yeah.
Make it clean, make it accessible. The user journey is important, right? So coming to a website, you're like, all right, what tasks? You're either going to be educated or be entertained, right?
Yeah.
I mean, those are the two
Right.
things, right? So you come to a website, you're like, okay, what do I got to do? Why am I here? And then determining, what the use cases are of that user. Are
Yeah.
they legit? Are they not? So those are important things. And marketing, you can get so much minutia around, just data and, emails and how things are tracked or click rates or all those types of things.
Yeah.
So just at the broader presence and, again, marketing maturity, right? How do these owners, kind of take that information and, and if the guy's on a referral, that's fine, right? I
Yeah.
mean, so how do they really adopt and buy in? And then they have to socialize it to the rest of the team too. They got to
Yeah.
say, okay, this is why it's important. Upstream, downstream, even the young kid, the Gen Z kid saying, yeah, legacy person, like this is important. So are you seeing more of those dynamics too, like as you step them through and say, guys, this start slow, baby steps.
Yeah.
Maybe you can grow into something else. So is that something else, just
I-
like another condition you're seeing?
Yeah, I would love it if everyone just took a stack of Post-its on a table like this
Right.
and wrote down every way you think you can or currently do get business. Networking.
Yep.
Cold leads to my website. Telephone.
Yep.
Right? And put it all out there. And now you can see it. It's visual.
Mhm.
These are all these different ways that I get or could get business. How do I make each opportunity better? Networking. All right. I'm going to buy a nicer suit. Maybe get some clean
No
shoes.
torn jeans.
No torn jeans.
Right.
All right. I get leads through my website. All right. Maybe I'm going to work on the UI so the experience is better. I understand the short attention span of my potential website
Yeah,
visitor. So
yeah.
let me
Yeah,
reorganize the content
Absolutely.
so they see what they're looking for 1st.
Mhm.
And if they want to dive deeper, well, that's there, etc. Phone calls. Oh, maybe I need to update my phone system recording so I sound professional.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
easier to go through the menu system.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm pitching something at the same time. Whatever. If someone went through that, and unfortunately no one does that, but if they
Right.
did do that, I think it's a clear way to see where you need to add polish, and then you can just focus on that one thing, and when you finish that, move on to the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah, the visual's great.
That is all marketing.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you had said client attention
Mhm.
when you were talking about the website a moment ago. At first, I thought you said client retention.
Yeah, right.
And client retention is also part of all of this,
Correct.
Yeah, sure.
right?
Yeah.
Because people like to, if people will work with you because they know you, like you, trust you, right? They, assuming the experience is good, they should have pride in working with you. I'm proud to work
Yeah.
with TurnOneStudio because they're doing this.
Right.
If I want them to refer me to someone else,
Mhm.
I need to make sure that they are proud to be working with me. I also need them to feel like if they refer, they're not going to be embarrassed, right? I do a great job for you. My website looks like it was done by a 4-year-old with crayons. You're going to be a little reluctant to refer because
Mhm.
even though I did really well by
Right.
you, your network is your net worth, as they say, right?
Mhm.
And you don't want to be embarrassed.
Mhm.
Well, using your analogy, if you've done a great job for me and I want to introduce you to all the other people in my networking group and you show up in the ripped shorts and the tank top,
Yeah, that's
and
a problem.
not
Yeah.
There's no coming back from that.
I can't introduce you to my friends looking like this.
Right.
So,
It's kind of like showing up, even if you're dressed correctly, but you're rude,
yeah.
right? Like
Right.
being a guest and then being a jerk, like that's not cool.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, and that's part of marketing yourself also. That's understanding your message and just being likable.
But that, and you can tell me right or wrong, that should also trickle down to things like your website and your marketing materials and all that. Because, and I found this specifically with business owners, everything is about who they associate with.
Mhm.
They want to associate with people that make them look higher level.
Sure.
And if I'm going to introduce you and your website is, 1999, these are the people you work with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you should, from a visual standpoint, you should be taking into consideration where you aspire your brand to be. I mean, it's important to understand where you are, and for some, that's it, right? But if you are looking to grow, if you are looking to level up your clients, you need to level up your office space, your website, how you and your team dress, how they speak. You probably shouldn't be saying those curse words. You should probably speak in complete sentences. Take a pause, listen more than you speak. Like, those are things that you should trickle down from a leadership perspective to your entire team, because we all represent our brand. If you're doing the ripped jeans thing, but your website looks super polished, you're not in parity. That feels weird on an unconscious level. I don't know this. You may not say this person doesn't feel genuine, but you may feel in your gut something to that effect, and you don't wind up doing business with them. That's a stupid way to lose business, because that's an easy thing to avoid. But you have to be aware, take consideration, and have a mature outlook that, I need to invest in this because this will pay dividends infinitely.
Right.
For sure.
But we also do have the dichotomy of what different generations think. I mean, you watch a movie like The Social Network. There is a whole scene gauged on show up in a bathrobe, do this. You're going to have generations now that's showing up in a vintage concert t-shirt and a blazer over it, that you got an edge. And it only goes so far.
Yeah.
So
I think one of the most important things is to know your craft, to know it and be able to speak about it, because whether it's generational or just a change in fashion, it's harder now I think there are less stereotypes and cliches with how people present themselves as far as you determining whether they're successful or not. Right? There's a quiet luxury movement going on right now where people don't want to see logos and stuff, and that connotes success, versus the guy that's got the logos, and that's brash and someone who's pretending to be successful but not successful. But you go back 5 to 10 years, I don't want to say it was the opposite, but the person with the logos, well, I guess
it really was.
A classically dressed individual is classic for a reason. That's always been a thing. But maybe the person that had the logos 10 years ago weren't seen as gaudy or whatever as they are today. So those trends change. So if you can at least speak intelligently about what you do, that should transcend your appearance, but don't make it harder on yourself by dressing stupid.
Right.
You have to get there first.
Get there first.
Yeah, for sure. This has been amazing. Final thoughts?
No, just thank you for coming in.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. This is always fun.
Let our audience know, websites, calls to action, networking groups that you're going to be part of, speaking engagements that you have coming up.
Sure. I appreciate that. So our website is TurnOneStudio.com, all spelled out, TURNONE studio.com. The number is 631-223-8124. I love consulting with people. I love having conversations. Tell me about your business, what your challenges are, and we'll see if we can help you. And if not, we'll point you in the right direction. As far as networking groups, I'm involved in a LATIP chapter. If you don't know what that is, reach out. I'll explain it to you. But we meet in Comac weekly. I'm involved in the HIA-LI, which is one of the largest associations on the island. I co-chair their business development and marketing committee. So if you're interested in business development and marketing, which you should, reach out to me and come to one of our events as my guest. And I'm involved in the MacArthur Business Alliance and the Long Island Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So that's kind of where I've been spending my time lately.
So you don't do
that
much.
handful.
I
don't do much.
You don't do much.
I don't do much.
Yeah, but great to have you here.
Thank you, guys.
So wonderful.
This is
Thank
great.
you so much again. I appreciate it. This has been The Higher Authority. If you'd like to comment on this post, or if you'd like to reach us, please get in touch with us at info@execsally.com. Thanks again.